Welcome back to Crossover Thursday, which is presented by Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonnfl and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL to win $50 instantly when you play 5. All right, Lauren. So again, there's so many things we can tell these two sides to quit making it so difficult on themselves. What are the 3 biggest keys to a Bears win in this one?
Yeah, I think the Texans and then the Packers laid out the winning formula against the Colts for the Chicago Bears here, right? Like it's not that complicated to say, yeah, the Bears need to get the running game going for the first time all season against the worst run defense in football right now. And then if you can get the running game going, that should help problem number 2, solidify the offensive line, find some consistency up front. And if you're running the ball well, then the defense can't key off on getting after Caleb Williams. They have to, pay more attention to the running game. You can work some play action off of that and then open things up in the passing game for Caleb Williams and finally get him going is kind of the number 3 aspect there. So it's all about the running game leads to the better offensive line of play action, which can then lead to more of a solid passing game, because I don't think there's a ton of concern about this Bears defense being able to hold up its end of the bargain. They're going to hold the Colts to a manageable point total that an average offense should be able to surpass. It's just a matter of this offense finally getting going in the way that we've been waiting for it to. And the Colts present a pretty good matchup opportunity that the Bears feel like this can be that opportunity to step forward.
I would agree. I think offensively, that's the thing for me. Establish the run early again, put at least a field goal on the board early so that you're not feeling like you're coming from behind too much to where you have to abandon the run. Get that run going a little bit. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor looked awesome last week up until he was yanked from the game, but allow that to set up play action. Just like you were saying, I don't think they want to take those big plays away from the offense totally. Obviously, no one does, but I think you have to be a little more cognizant when you're playing, this defense that Chicago has, one of the better secondaries in the NFL. But I mean, try and set it up, get that run game going. On paper, having Anthony Richardson and Jonathan Taylor in the backfield is supposed to scare guys. So make it scary and then take advantage of that and, use play action in your option game to set up big pass plays. But what else do you got from the defensive side for Chicago?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's about trying to make Anthony Richardson have to do it all for the Colts, right? Put him on the spot to say, you've got to make the plays here. The Bears did a really good job of shutting down Joe Mixon with the Houston offense last week. They had a little trouble week 1 against the Titans, but I think that was a little bit more of like Bears still trying to get their feet back under them to start the season and a little bit less of like a longer-term concern about the run defense. But I think the Bears shouldn't have too much trouble keeping things manageable with Jonathan Taylor and then being able to force Anthony Richardson to make plays with his legs and then also like hit big plays downfield, fire into those tight windows, like force him to have to test this Bears secondary, because a lot of quarterbacks have struggled with that test. And I think they look at Richardson as a player that, like we talked about earlier, like he's not a guy that's going to make a bunch of boneheaded decisions, but can you get him to attempt to pass and just be inaccurate enough to get that big turnover? Because this defense is fueled by energy. It's the big plays lead to bigger plays for them. It's the big sack leads to then an interception because there's just that juice flowing through them on the back end. But if the Colts can get things going early, you can kind of demoralize that unit a little bit and things can break down a little bit more as well.
Yeah, so I'm looking for the Colts front to kind of fluster Caleb Williams a little bit. I don't know what to expect from the pass rush right now. I thought they did a good job in week 1 against CJ Stroud, 4 sacks, 10 hits. They did not get any sacks last week against Malik Willis. Now that comes with kind of a caveat because that was a very run-heavy approach, a lot of quick throws for Willis, and he's obviously a mobile guy. So you just weren't going to get a full pass rush set against a guy like that. But in this one, I know guys are banged up a little bit, but, Dayo Adangbo is still healthy. Isaiah Land might have to play a little bit in this one. We'll see. Tyquan Lewis is still healthy. Grover Stewart's a nose, so he's not going to give you much in terms of pass rush. But, Adetome Adebawore, this might be a big opportunity for him to step up. He's been seeing more snaps. So your main guys are pretty banged up, but the guys who are out there playing are going to have to do something. Like There can't be excuses. They're going to have to play a lot this year. And so they can't just be ineffective the whole time.
Yeah, if I'm the Colts, like they have to test this Bears offensive line communication in both the running game and the pass rush department, but especially in the pass rush, like passing off stunts, like pretty basic football 101 type offensive line communication. The Bears had a lot of trouble with last week. And then you add in blitzers coming from different directions, and that's where you get into some real problems. And I don't think it was like when you kind of go back and watch Caleb Williams adjust protections at the line of scrimmage, he's calling the mic properly. He seems to be getting guys in the right position. They just haven't been able to really execute on that group. So if I'm the Colts, I'm pressing that button over and over and over again until the Bears prove they can pick that up, pass it off properly, and keep their quarterback safe. Because that has been something that you'd think professional offensive linemen can do, but in Chicago, that's been a little bit too much to ask.
I hear you there. So what's your vibe check on this one? How do you see this one turning out?
Yeah, I think it's going to be low scoring because I think the Bears are going to hold down the Colts offense pretty well. And then it's just a matter of what the Bears offense can actually get going against this Colts defense. So if I had to put a score to it, I think it'll be close. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be ugly quite a bit, but I'm going to go Bears 20, Colts 16. A lot of field goals in there, but the Bears just get a little bit more, and it's still going to be a one-score game down in the end. No one's gonna cruise away and feel like this game is firmly in hand, nothing to worry about. But in the end, I think the Bears get the offense going a little bit more than we've seen up to this point, and their defense still gets just enough of a job done there to say, yep, offense doesn't need to score 30, just get to 20, and that's a win.
So I absolutely love that score because I had it 20-16 Colts. So I kind of two extremes on the first week. They scored 27 points week one. They couldn't really get much going last week. So I'll kind of cut it in the middle for them. I'll give the Colts 20 points, assuming they can have the run game working at least a little bit. But I think, they will probably allow the Bears to have the most productive offensive day they've had so far because there's nothing on the Colts defense right now that tells me it won't happen. They haven't been able to stop the run until the second half of last week, which is great, but it took them going to a bear front. They can't just do these things all the time. Teams will figure out how to attack them. Their secondary is the area we were most concerned about going into the year, but it hasn't even kind of reared its head yet because teams haven't had to pass on them because they're running so much. So I think it is going to be a really close game. Maybe we'll see a lot of mistakes or just lack of execution. I don't think either of these teams are just going to magically fix the problems that have plagued them for the first couple weeks. So I do think the Colts have, just enough of an advantage to give them the narrow win. Again, 20-16. But man, I've not done well picking these games for the Colts so far this year.
The early beginning of this season, everybody's still trying to figure themselves out. The Colts are figuring out what they're going to be. The Bears are going to figure out what they're going to be. And these are not the mid-season forms of these teams just yet. Maybe these two have been even a little slower than some other teams in really getting to where, they want to be at this point in the year. So it's going to be an unpredictable, volatile game with some young teams. And it's one of those things like anything can happen in this one.
Yeah, I think if you fast forwarded this and just put it near the end of the schedule, it might look a little better. Anthony Richardson versus Caleb Williams might have a little more luster than it does right now because, obviously, vibes aren't great around them. People aren't, speaking of them too highly right now. But I'm confident eventually both sides will look a little better than they do right now. But honestly, this could be an entertaining game because it's two sides that struggle and they'll have success against each other. But thank you guys for making Locked On Colts and Locked On Bears your first listen today. Now, for your second listen, go find the new Locked On NFL Now with two shows every day. First, the Madman Tyler Rowland kicks off your morning with a double shot of NFL espresso, and then stop by the barbershop with Tony Wiggins for some real NFL talk. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you guys don't already, follow us on social media. And with that, we'll be with you for the rest of the week, and we will see you guys tomorrow.